So if you're a progressive in the US, you have to know our next speaker. I heard our next speaker during the 2016 campaign when I was Bernie's New Hampshire lawyer, and this person was Bernie's key surrogate. This spring, I was lucky enough to be selected for training by the PCCC in DC, the Progressive Change Campaign Caucus. And this person wowed us over and over and over again. She is from Cleveland. She was on the Cleveland City Council. She was an Ohio State Senator. She is the president of Our Revolution. Let's all welcome Nina Turner.
Thank you. Wow, Keene, it's great to be here. Loving you guys. I want to thank Andru for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. And that was quite a training. Our Revolution partnered with the PCCC. And we had about 450 progressives from all across the country, from all walks of life, there to be trained on how to run for office. It was beautiful. So to RAD and to MPA, it's a pleasure to join you. I've been on a whirlwind tour through the great state of Vermont and now the great state of New Hampshire. 8 stops. Working a sister from the time I landed to the time I leave. But this is a beautiful thing to be on a people-powered tour across these 2 great states. So Andru really laid it out, and we're going to have some Q&A, so I'm going to make sure that I stay on track here. So I'm going to go really fast, and then maybe through the Q&A, I can slow down just a little bit. But, you know, this whole movement is really about the people in this room and your sisters and brothers who have been in every room that I've been in for the last 9 months. 37 states I've been to in the last 9 months on behalf of Our Revolution, groups like RAD, and now here for MPA. And it is us, people like us, people with a collective consciousness. We are the reason why the change is going to come. I've enjoyed reading the signs that I've seen walking up the stairs and how we express ourselves. The one in the back of the room, Progressive Platform, Stop the War. You know, one of the urban true. I mean, one of my favorite urban poets used to say that we have money for wars, but we can't feed the poor. That was Tupac Shakur, he said that. And that was just as true when he said it as it is today. We need to look at it. Andru talked about how do we pay for these things. We are the wealthiest nation on the face of the earth. And I do agree with him that as progressives, we do have to talk more about where the money comes from, because the other side paints our vision as if it is unreasonable. It really is not unreasonable to say that in the wealthiest country on the face of the earth that everyone in this country should have health care. That's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable to think that in the United States of America that everyone that lives here should have clean water and fresh air. That's just not unreasonable. So as we reflect on what's happening to our sisters and brothers in Flint, the poisonous water that they have to not just drink, but also bathe in, just think about that. You know, Senator Sanders and I were in Flint a few months ago because he promised them that he would come back, and he is a man of his word, and he did go back. And we met with a small community of folks in a black church. An overwhelming majority of the 30 people in that room were African American, but we had some rainbow in there. But they were mainly African Americans, and to hear mothers talk about the fact that their children still have to bathe in that water and the sores that they get. In America. And then we all know that a couple of weeks ago it was revealed that our sisters and brothers in Iowa, 9 counties deep, did not have access to clean water. This is the United States of America. So 3 things minimally I believe that we should come to expect. 1 is clean water, 2 is fresh air, and 3 is food. No one in the United States of America should go to bed hungry. And I just don't think that's too much to ask. So the people that you elect to office, it matters. It really does matter. It matters whether or not they have the courage and conviction to stand up for the people who give them the power. Sisters and brothers, you loan elected officials your power temporarily. It's not their power, it's your power. You give and you can take away. And we need to take away from folks who only talk a good game. You know, the last place that we were at, and I believe someone asked a question about what do you do with folks who just want to banty about the word progressivism? People who just label themselves progressive because it's a new hot thing, Andrew. It's good. It's hot. It's hot to be a progressive. You know, it's like the new kid on the block, the new fashion. It's to be a progressive. But it's not just enough to say that you are a progressive. Show me what you value, what you stand for, and I'll show you whether or not you are a progressive. And at some point in time, it doesn't matter how much people try to fake it. You can't fake forever the real thing. And we will find out who are the real progressives and who are not. Who are the ones who are just whispering sweet nothings in our ears, and who are the ones who are willing to leverage the people's power to lift the citizens in this country. My brother, Jim Hightower from the great state of Texas, he talks about, they love you, Jim Hightower. I hope you tuning in. Everywhere. Him and I, we've traveled too. But he talks about the workaday people in this country. And that's really what we're talking about. Black, brown, white, yellow, and red, and everybody in between. The workaday people of the United States of America, we deserve more and better than what we are getting. Or the way that Brother Frederick Douglass framed it, he said that power concedes nothing without a demand. So we're going to start making some demands. And not to be ashamed. You know, it's just curious to me. It just absolutely boggles my mind how folks in power talked to us every single day about how important it was to bail out the banks. We got to bail out the banks. We got to bail out the banks. We got to bail out Wall Street. We got to do it. We got to do it. We must do it. We all know that we went through a great recession in this country. And guess what? The American people did it. But when it comes time to bail out our sisters and brothers in Flint, 4 years later, they still don't have clean water. When it comes time to lift up the working class in this country who work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet, the system itself is rigged in a way that they don't get a bailout. Or when it comes to making investments in education so that our children, who have to both compete and collaborate with other folks' children all over, not just this country, but all over the world, who bails them out? As our young people, as they walk across the stage earning their degree in one hand and they got debt in the other, who bails them out? I just had the opportunity to have breakfast with a couple from New Zealand. James, I think that's right, from New Zealand. And they talked about how, you know, college used to be free, but now they have to pay something. And they said it's $7,000 a year. And guess what? No taxes, no interest rate on that. We would trade that in the United States in a heartbeat. Now, if they can do that there, why can't we do that here? It is really, sisters and brothers, can I tell you how we get this done? It is about the social contract. It is about one to another what we collectively agree that we want to do with our money. When I hear conservatives say nothing is free, you know what? No, nothing is free. It's paid for by taxpayers' dollars. The prison industrial complex paid for with taxpayers' dollars. The bailout of Wall Street paid for with taxpayers' dollars. Money that we give all over the world paid for with your money. No, nothing is free. But it's all about how we pull our collective resources for a greater good. In this country, we believe that public education, well, some of us believe that, is a greater good. So we pool our money. Infrastructure, a greater good. So we pull our tax money to pay for that. So why can't we pull our resources and have Medicare for all? I just don't understand that. We can do that. And people in Congress who hem and haw about how we can't afford it. Meanwhile, they got the best health care plan that our tax dollars can buy. Something is wrong with that. So the social contract in this country must change. And one of the ways that we change that contract is by holding these people accountable, electing folks who care more about the next generation than they do about the next election, and hold them accountable every single election cycle. And if they don't carry out the people's will, we give and we can take away. So I want to kind of round out my remarks and just thanking organizations like Rights and Democracy for all the great work that they do and the partnership that they have with our revolution. This is time for revolution, sisters and brothers, and we can't be afraid of revolution. In the United States of America, we've had 3 revolutions in our country's history. We had the American Revolution, bloody. We had the Civil War in the 19th century, bloody. We had the Civil Rights Movement in the 20th century, bloody, not as bloody, but some people lost their lives, other people lost their livelihoods. We are not afraid of revolution in this country to get a certain change. We are in the 21st century, and I see another revolution emerging. It will not be bloody, but it is the people's revolution, and we are on the precipice of that right now. The 4th revolution. Sisters and brothers, we can do this. Don't pay attention to the people who say that we can't. They need to get out of the way of the people who say that we can. We elect leaders who are both truthful about our current circumstance, but we also elect leaders who are visionary. How many people are voting for folks to keep things the same? We want vision, we want integrity, we want authenticity. And from time to time, we want somebody who's just gonna flat out listen to us, to what we have to say about the situation. We can have it. President Nelson Mandela once said that it always seems impossible until it is done. There were points in time in this country's history where there was a certain reality, and somebody or somebody's everyday people putting a little extra on their ordinary said, oh no, wait a minute, we can do that. From abolishing slavery, we could do that. If my folks depended on the status quo to abolish slavery, baby, I'd still be in chains today. They overcame the establishment. The women who said, oh no, we sick of it. We're going to vote. We're getting our right to vote. We will be treated like equals in this country. We will vote and we will run for office. Dr. Alice Paul chaining herself to the White House gate. They were called crazy. They were thrown in jail. They were force-fed. If those sisters had depended on or only waited for the status quo to give them permission, women wouldn't have the right to vote today. Sisters and brothers, I say to you that we challenge the status quo every single generation. We are charged with challenging the status quo, to dream of a world not just as it exists, but as it can be. And all of that comes from the workaday people, not just in this country, but all over the world. So let me close up with this. This is what I want you to imagine something for me. And those of you who have seen me on the stump, you know I always bring my grandmother with me, my wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. But I've been feeling Sister Harriet Tubman. She has been all over me. I am a historian. And I talk to our folks all the time, whether it's FDR, LBJ, Mother Jones, they speak to me. Well, I've had Sojourner or Sister Harriet Tubman speaking to me. And I want you to pretend in your mind, can you go with me in your mind, that she is in this room at this moment. I am choosing her because of her story. Our stories are our strength. We know the story that she was enslaved. You already know that. She had to escape to freedom. She went back to get her family. She could have stopped right there. But she was convicted by her purpose. And she went back over and over and over again. Think about that, over and over again, to set some other folks free. Sisters and brothers in this room this morning, I just want to know, and you don't have to tell me out loud, but in your heart and in your mind, who are you going back to save? See, she went back over and over and over again, putting herself on the line to save somebody else. Who are you willing to sacrifice for to go back to save? See, some of you are in this room because you care about the environment. Other of you care about who's elected. Some of you care about women's rights. Some of you care about voting rights. Some of you care about criminal justice reform. Some of you are just here because you just want to know what the hell is going on in the world. Whatever reason that you are here, you have to say in your mind that I am purposed for this moment and I plan to save some folks. Pick your issue and save some people. With these hands, many hands make the light work. And so the moral of the story from Sister Harriet Tubman is that we got to be willing to put something on the line to save somebody else. We got to be willing, in the words of our Native American sisters and brothers, be willing to look 7 generations beyond ourselves. Or as somebody put it, this is not my quote, somebody else said it, be willing to plant trees whose shade we may never enjoy. That is deep in your heart and in your soul. It is not in your head. It comes from your heart first and then to your head. So to hell with these folks, and I meant that, who say that we cannot change the course of history in this country, and dare I say the world. There is a rumbling here. And sisters and brothers, we must get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you are fighting for justice, you will be uncomfortable. So Sister Harriet Tubman's quote that I want you to take with you as Andru and I prepare to answer some questions this afternoon or this morning. I don't even know what time of the day it is. A sister just going. I've been up since 5:30 this morning. So you feel her in the room. She's in the room. She's in the room. She said these words: if you hear the dogs barking, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If they're shouting after you, don't ever stop. If you want to taste the freedom, keep going. Her words are all in this room. She is working on our mind through the strength of her spirit and her work. The 21st century version of that. If you want Medicare for all, keep going. If you believe in paid family leave, keep going. If you believe that we ought to have clean water, fresh air, food to eat, be able to take a vacation every now and then, and to live a good life, keep going. If you believe that women deserve to make their whole damn dollar, keep going. If we believe in criminal justice reform in this country, sisters and brothers, if we know from the rainbow mosaic of humanity, because it's not just up to black folks to fight against racism and discrimination and bigotry and hatred. We need our white sisters and brothers right there in the fight with us. We got to keep going. And if we believe that our sisters and brothers at the southern border, most of them trying to come to the land that says that bring me your tired and huddled masses, we must keep going. If we want to taste of freedom, we must never stop. We must keep going. Are you with me? Yeah. We gonna keep going. Say it with me, keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Let's give it up for Nina Turner. Thank you, we love you.
You gotta support groups like Rights and Democracy. Hello. We gotta support groups like Rights and Democracy and Our Revolution. Don't leave this room. If you are not a member, please sign up. OurRevolution.com, Rights and Democracy, sign up. Be a part of the solution.
Someone taking a picture of this right now? Nina just did what I was gonna do, so thank you. No, it's perfect. You're better than me. So just real quick. My name is Isaac Grimm. I'm the new organizing director with Rights and Democracy New Hampshire. It's my honor and privilege to work with y'all here in the Granite State. Thank you so much for being here. Can we just, one more round of applause for Nina? Thank you so much for being here. So very briefly, we wanted to make sure that we can get to some questions from y'all. So we had the quarter sheets that were given out, and those are being sorted through, and we'll get to as many as we can, especially focusing on those that were, kind of a number of people asked the same question. So we'll be bringing those up in a moment, and it can be either for Nina or Andrew, or it can be either. And last thing before we get to that, I just want to reiterate that if you are not a sustaining member of Rights and Democracy, please do sign up. This movement is built on many things, but it all really boils down to organized people and organized resources. If we're not getting serious about us being out there, bringing more people into the movement with us, organizing more people and building this movement with a huge base that we need, then we cannot win on the issues that we care about so deeply. And if we are not serious and intentional about raising money, then we are also going to keep losing to the right, because they have no problem organizing a lot of people and a lot of money. And if we're not pushing back on that and being serious about building power, then we will keep losing to the right. And I want to say that this is a movement based on love. Every action that we take, when we sacrifice that critical time with our family, with our friends, with our loved ones, that is a revolutionary act of love. When we knock on the door of a stranger and we have no idea what's going to happen there, that is a revolutionary act of love. When we get out in the streets and risk our own bodies, our own lives, that is a deep revolutionary act of love. But it will not be built only on acts of love. We need to make sure that we can keep the lights on when we do that. So thank you all for the ways in which you are already engaging in building this movement. I'm so excited to continue to build it with you all. Thank you for your support, and again, please do sign up as a monthly sustainer if you have not already. There are envelopes that we will pass out. Who here is already a member? That's a beautiful thing. I hope the next time we do this, we can see every hand in the air. Yes. Thank you all again, and questions. So who's got my questions? Come on up. Before you do the question. Yes.
Context, but that context. Would you stand up so we can acknowledge you? Who's here? That. Yeah, right there. I knew I recognized someone. Very cool. All right, Isaac, you can have this back. You want this back? We're not going to cede it.
Y'all should hold on to that microphone.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So you're going to call up people?
Yep. So the first question is from Sophia. Do you want to read your question, or do you want me to read it? Where's Sophia?
She's over there.
Do you want to read your question?
No.
Okay. This is from Sophia, age 11, and she asks, what do you think the most important issue in our economy is?
Important issue in our economy, I think, is healthcare. Because our health is our wealth. So, to the extent that I believe that every person should have not just access, but have that healthcare so that they can do every great thing, that would alleviate so much of the pressure on working people every day in this country. If they had access to healthcare, would boom entrepreneurship, small businesses would blossom. For somebody like you, Sophia, as you grow up and start your own company and be the boss, you could do that with great, without having regard for whether or not you would be tied to any type of job. You would be able to have that kind of health care, and with that gives you an awful lot of freedom. Man, we got to give it up. Sophia, now that was a heavy question.
So I would never disagree with Nina.
But he is.
So I'm going to say there's a tie between healthcare and overall income inequality.
Yeah.
I think income inequality is the greatest threat to democracy that we have. If you don't have money, you can't participate. And if you do have money, money equates with power and message and votes. And we need to equalize that so that the power is better shared.
They go
So great
together.
question.
They go together.
So I'm asking the next question because we've had a few questions that we're trying to morph into one. And they're coming from Sasha and Tori and a few other folks out there in the audience. How do we best convince people who believe the Democratic Party is corrupt to engage again in the party, or is the money too entrenched and our goals too different to work together? And that's a tough one.
Well, there's a phrase that I heard over and over again at the PCC training that I was disappointed I haven't heard yet. So I'm guessing I might hear it now. But let me just say this. The reason I'm a Democrat is because I share democratic ideals. I don't share the approach that's been in place for the last couple of decades. As you heard me say, I think if you're a progressive, you have to talk about what you stand for and how you put that into practice. And I don't think Democrats have done that for a long time. But there's a structure to the Democratic Party. I mean, I was the one who defended Senator Sanders' right to be on the New Hampshire primary ballot because he was challenged because he wasn't a Democrat. I can't think of anyone who's more democratic and more representative of democratic ideals than Senator Sanders. And I am not about to give up the Democratic Party. I'm more about converting it to Senator Sanders' ideals.
Yeah, amen to what Andrew just said, and I know the phrase that he's talking about, which is any old blue just won't do. And, that was a theme that I shouted out at the PCCC training, and it just simply means this, that those of us on the progressive end should not be bullied into going anywhere. That's our party, and we can stay if we want to. So, and many of us do plan to stay. So, but yes, are there entrenched interests in both parties? There are. The establishment wings of both parties are just corrupted by money. And, to add to something that Andrew said, it is really, we have to get this big money out of politics because money is now voice, money is now speech, and the more money you have, the more speech that you have. And the only thing that's on the line is all that we love.